Just stepping back a bit to a truck here. When I'm doing the axles for the trucks and trailers, Aschi gives you the length in his plans, but because sometimes wood will have up to 1 millimetre difference in thickness, I prefer to measure mine. What I do is I put all the settings on it. I've got a fibre washer, a wheel spacer on each side. I know the depth inside my wheels is 10 millimetre on each one, so if I add 20 millimetres to the length of this, that's flush here, and I add 20 millimetres, that makes up for the depth. So if I trim those axles now, they'll be just the right size for the truck. Now on my wheels, when I paint them, I've already put the centre hubs in because it's easier to glue them in then paint them rather than paint them then try and glue them. And what I use for that are these wooden pine cover buttons. You get them at any reasonable hardware. So I'll go ahead and trim these axles, and then I'll show you how I mass produce my little axles. Coming over to my little miter box, I've got the mark there where I want to cut it. I've lined it up with the cut, and I've also set up a stop block. So once I've made the first cut, I just measure that from the cut, set the stop block, and now I can cut as many axles as I need using the same measurement. Now, cutting it like this invariably leaves rough edges on the end. What I do here is I've got a double pencil sharpener. Using the wider pencil, just wind it through there. It rounds the edges and takes all the rough settings off, so that when you're assembling a wheel on the end of it, it's not going to bind on these rough bits of wood. Now, as luck would have it, the current crop of dowels I've bought for the axles are slightly oversized for the standard axle holes. So I'm having to drill out the axle holes to accommodate the new dowels. I've already got the studs in there and everything. So the tape was originally when I was setting up the depth. I've got the depth stuff set now, so it stops. Doesn't go all the way through. I've just got to drill out all of my wheels now and the axle slots on the chassis. I'm sure you don't want to sit here and watch me drill out another 80 odd wheels that I'll be doing, so we'll just shut it down now and I'll finish doing the wheels, and then I'll drill out the axle slots in the chassis. And putting the wheels on the axles and assembling it It's the same process for the trailers. I use a cotton bud with the glue so I can get it inside there. If I put it inside rather than putting it on the axle, it doesn't just scrape off as you're pushing it through. Push the axle in. Put a spacer on. I'll put a fibre washer on. Push it through. Fibre washer. A spacer. And the second wheel. A little bit on the outside of the wheel's okay because it's only going to bind onto the wooden spacer. And that is finished on the prime mover. I'll just leave them like that for till tomorrow, give them the glue time to dry, and then I'll just come along and I'll blow all the dust off, make any touch-ups that I need to make, and that's ready to go to one of my grandsons. Okay, just to finish off the trailers now, I've put inserts inside the wheel hubs, and I think they look reasonably effective. So what I'm doing now is gluing the wheels in. As you know, I pre-cut the axles last time. They have been measured, they are the right length. I always use a fibre washer between the chassis and the wheel. It just stops it binding. The axles do turn inside the axle holes, so all is good. I've attached the spare wheel underneath the chassis, and what I do now is to, using a cotton bud with the glue, I put the glue on the inside of the axle hole, and then turn them on. Just enough so that they don't bind anywhere. And another one is finished. This will be the last video in this series. As you can see, all four setups are complete. Now, I've used Aschi's plans for all of this. The first one, of course, was the road tractors, which was plan 209. The second one was for the bull bar, which is sitting there, and that in itself is plan 227, when I can zero in, and the combination trailers are all from plan 211. I hope you enjoyed watching all of this. Thank you.